Welcome back. Today I'm finishing my 10-step program on how to improve the superhero genre. If you missed the first half, click here. Anyways, sorry it took a week. I know 3 superhero movies have come out since then, but bear with me. I don't know why I have so much to say on the subject. Maybe because it's just a little more specific than usual, or maybe it's just because there's a lot of potential. Or maybe because a lot of the biggest movies that come out nowadays are superhero movies. Regardless, let's dive right back in. Step 6. Follow the comic. But also don't. I talked about this at length in my episode on book adaptions, but allow me to reiterate. Find out what people like about the source material and keep that. Cut what they don't. In this instance, I once again call upon Watchmen, which I think is the ultimate example of changing the source material for the better. Watchmen follows the comic nearly shot for shot, beat for beat, which is great, because I loved these characters and this story in the comic. But at the end of the comic, I was left totally confused and unsatisfied. In changing Ozymandias' plan from some weird plant thing that I don't really get to the considerably more coherent ending in the movie, I think the movie actually succeeds in being far better than the comic. On the other hand, I went into Fantastic Four Silver Surfer with literally one thing I wanted to see. A giant planet-eating robot. You gave me a cloud. A cloud. That's your villain. Frickin'. Step 7. Cut to the chase. You know why Superman 2, Spider-Man 2, and Dark Knight are all considered better than their predecessors? It's because they have awesome villains. But the reason they have time for awesome villains is because they don't waste time on the hero's backstory. They go right into the story and the action. And yeah, some heroes are obscure enough you have to explain where they came from. But there are ways around that. I mean, X-Men have a one-sentence explanation of they're born this way, and Iron Man is fortunate enough to have a really interesting backstory. But then you run into characters like Deadpool. They kinda work around it with their non-linear structure to give us action at the beginning and the climax. But the first thing I said to my friends when it was over is, the sequel's gonna be better. But of course the easiest way around this is to skip the backstory altogether. Once again, I gotta give credit to Batman v Superman for giving us only a few minutes of Bruce Wayne's backstory, and during the opening credits when no one's really paying attention. But that can't compare to Batman's on-screen debut. Second on-screen debut. Tim Burton's Batman. It immediately throws us into Batman's story with no explanation needed. 'Cause it's Batman. We all know why he's Batman. Ditto to Superman or Spider-Man. It's like porn. We're only here for the action. Step 8. Cool it with the Jesus symbolism. My god. They're literally. We get it. Superheroes are like Jesus. They have immaculate powers. They come back to life at random. There are many interpretations of their story. Stop being so in our face about it. Step 9. Slow down. You know, I like these MCU movies. I do. But the more times you show me the same thing, the more I notice what I don't like about it. Familiarity breeds contempt. We're not quite halfway through the year, and already we've seen 4 superhero movies. That's absurd. And you've already announced movies running all the way up through 2020 into the next decade. You know, people's interests change over time. You guys are riding a hype train that began in the early aughts, and part of me doubts you'll make it through a second decade. But even assuming you do, then what? You gonna try feigning it to us again? You have to realize there's a limit on how many comic book movies you can realistically make. Budget accordingly. You gonna hold off on having 2 superhero movies in a year, have one box office hit this year and one next year? Or you gonna blow your wad all at once? Honestly, I feel kinda bad for DC. They really only recently hopped onto the let's make a movie of every superhero train, without realizing that Marvel is nearly running it off the tracks. I'm looking forward to these movies, but I'm patient. A movie with time put into it will eventually be good. A bad movie will always be bad. And finally, do something original, damn it! If there's one thing you can take away from any episode of this show, it's that. Originality is the best thing you could possibly bring to a movie, and these cut-and-paste superhero movies ain't gonna cut it. Take risks, think big. Make an R-rated superhero movie. Make a movie around a black main character. You guys don't realize you have a blank check. We are going to see your movie regardless. You can take risks. Who knows? Maybe years later people will actually remember and still care about your movies. Wouldn't that be something? Come on, what would Tony Stark say about all this repetition if he inexplicably had an Australian accent?
How is this guy?
You can't cannibalize yourself all the time.
Repetition
You're just gonna wind up with
works.
shit.
Well, there it is. 10 steps to improving the superhero genre. Get with it, Hollywood. Anyways, I gotta go. I'm needed elsewhere. Hey, yo, cool with the copyrighted music. Where's my public domain elevator music? Oh yeah. Well, that was Comic Book Movies Part 2. Sorry it was 2 parts. Just be sure to tell me what you liked, what you didn't like. Be sure to share it with your friends, especially your Hollywood executive friends. All the other generic stuff I say at the end of videos. And don't forget to look at Part 1, because it's kind of important. Anyways, I guess I'll see you guys next week. I mean, what's up with post-credit scenes anyway? They just, set up the next thing. What's this? Princesses.